Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, June 30th, and we are continuing our study of the book of Acts. We're at Acts chapter 22, beginning at verse 30, and we're to read all the way to the end of chapter 23. The Apostle Paul has been taken into custody by the Romans, and the Roman commander has determined that Paul has committed no crimes against Rome. What's going on here, he recognizes to be purely a religious thing between Paul and the Jewish authorities. And so he releases Paul at the beginning of today's reading to go address the Jewish High Council. Now, you'll see right at the very beginning, Paul walks in and he states that he has got a clear conscience. Now, that doesn't mean that he has been right all the time and never done anything wrong. It means that when he has done something wrong, he's immediately taken responsibility for it and done whatever is required to make it right. Upon saying this, a man named Ananias orders that Paul be slapped. And Paul essentially says, "What the heck? Why are you doing this? You're a knucklehead." Then somebody points out to Paul that man, Ananias, is in fact the high priest. So what that means is Paul has just insulted the high priest, which is strictly prohibited by Jewish law. And Paul acknowledges that immediately, even quoting the scripture that dictates that he is not supposed to disrespect authority. So Paul, by his own actions, is demonstrating what he means by having a clear conscience. If he does something wrong, he immediately takes accountability for it and knows that he needs to fix it. Well, it's obvious that none of this is going to work out. If Paul can't get one sentence out without somebody going to judicial violence, then how is he supposed to share his entire testimony? So what he realizes is that the dynamic in the room is such that he could throw kind of a loft bomb out there and get them arguing amongst themselves about something, and it goes haywire, and the Roman guards end up extracting Paul and bringing him back to safety in the fortress. At verse 11, though, that night, Paul's praying, and we read this. That night, the Lord appeared to Paul and said, "Be encouraged, Paul. Just as you have been a witness to me here in Jerusalem, you must also preach the good news in Rome as well." Paul had always wanted to go to Rome to preach the good news. He just wasn't ever sure about how he was going to get there. But now God has laid the path clearly before him. He didn't have to raise a bunch of money and figure out how to travel there. Instead, it turns out the Roman government is going to get him there at their own expense. And in fact, they're going to send him with a team of guards and soldiers to make sure that he gets there safe. It might not have been what Paul was expecting, but Paul knew that he would somehow get to Rome, and God is making that happen. And the same thing happens for us. God will pave the path for us to go where he needs us to be. Sometimes that path will be unexpected, but God is in control. So as we continue to live through some pretty crazy times, we need to trust that God is going to get us to the destination. The route might be circuitous, but we can trust in God. He knows what he's doing. Have a great day, everyone.